What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as
Just
well.
the one, obviously.
Just the one. We're sticking to it now.
A
We're done with the multiple.
respectable one.
Keep it to a nice threshold of just one. But we're here again to talk about the video games. But first, sorry, I got cut off. How are you? How are you this fine day? My train of thought just left the station.
Doing all right, I guess.
Check-in.
I can understand why you're feeling frazzled, though, because there's an object in the floor that usually isn't there, which that throws me off a little bit.
Do you need me to move this?
No.
Are we good?
I'm just looking at it like,
That doesn't need to be
it's just
there.
like, for context, it's just like a canister of sanitizer wipes. Yeah. It's just not usually there. I realize the term, there's an object in the floor, really left that wide open.
It could just really leave people's minds to just run
There's
wild.
a corpse over there.
What could be on Jarrett's office floor? I don't know.
I should have left it open-ended.
Send us your suggestions. Over on our Discord or social media where you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Patreon exclusive.
Patreon
What's
exclusive.
on the floor?
What's on my floor? It's not lava.
If people paid for that, then it was just the sanitizer wipes.
It's like, this is it. Click picture of the Lysol.
We just start doing blatant clickbait on all the Patreon shit.
We make
really
all of our
funny.
thumbnails for episodes to look like clickbait ads.
We do like Mogan and Jarrett live nudes, but we've just got those skin suits on with like the printed forms to make it look like.
Oh my god!
That would be so.
We need to do these things that we joke about doing
Write
every once in a
all of
while.
that shit down
We were
that I
like
just
talking before we even started recording about what. Now it blank. Of like doing some like going to a
Barton
stream
Springs
and doing
just being sluts.
swear like I'd be like in a banana hammock like the Todd. I don't know, as like some way to fulfill our page or like extra life goals.
It would be incredible
and stuff like that. Since one of them was supposed to is that we have to do the ice bucket challenge,
Yes,
which we have
which
not
we're
forgotten
still gonna
about
do. Don't worry about
doing.
that.
We're just.
And we're not intentionally waiting for it to get hot because if
I mean,
it makes you feel any better, it's already
hot. But yeah, so we are doing that. But Barton Springs is like 68 degrees all the time. It's freezing.
It's fucking
so,
cold.
we decided we could either do ice bucket challenge or we could, be sluts at the pool.
Let us know in the comments.
What do you want to see?
You just want a couple of pool sluts? Okay. Next Team Chat shirts, pool sluts. But like in our logo font, just like switch it out. Oh, Jared, make that happen.
I have to
Write that one down too.
Oh my God. So many notes.
I'm just a content farm today.
Good. I love these ideas. Let's keep it fresh. Let's keep it rolling.
I did have more caffeine than usual today, so that's where all this is
you're like all hyped up. Let's go.
I got all these ideas.
Oh man, but yes, like I said, you can find us on social media at those places: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversation about games and other topics when we're not here recording the show. You can new episodes of the show come out on podcast services around the World Wide Web every Thursday, and you can listen to those on those podcast services as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. And finally, you can go over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like some cool folks. And God damn it, if I always forget to copy this over to the right note, but here it is. If you go over to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like Super Saiyan Ace, Elise F, Zach S, Mariah S, Susan M, James K, Michael B, Andrew M, Michael S, and Brandon W have done. You can they've gone there, and in return, man, that hit a pothole and it just totally derailed.
And I was barely paying
attention. I'm just gonna keep going because right now we're also trying to record and outrun a coming storm.
Yeah.
So we are like we're clicking, we're running, and we're rolling. So I'm really not even gonna go back and try again.
That's
but
fine.
You know what? If you give us money over on Patreon, we give you cool perks like getting the episode early before the general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery, as well as some extra goodies along the way like custom emotes and it's just a good time. So you can do that over on Patreon. Big thanks to everyone who has done that already. And we also, if you can't do that over on Patreon, you can give us free support. I'm just really keeping this butcher train going.
Come on,
you can
buddy.
you can support us for free by subscribing wherever you listen to. Tell your friends, all that good jazz. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off.
Good Jesus Christ. That was probably your worst one.
That was a bad one. I haven't had a bad
while.
intro in a while, but you know what? I
Wow.
felt like entertaining the people with that one today. So I'm just going to leave.
so.
I'm just going to leave it in there and not suffer the embarrassment of trying
We
to butcher
don't
it
usually
a
edit
second
these.
time.
Yeah.
But anyway, we do have a fun topic today because Octopath Traveler 2 has been released. And while I don't necessarily plan on playing the full game,
Understandable.
because Well, yeah, because we played the demo for the first one. This is based on impressions from the demo for me. I know you have actually purchased the game now and played more into it.
That's right. I think time-wise, I'm about 6 to 7 hours in now.
Okay.
So I've definitely made it well beyond the confines of the demo, which for anybody that doesn't know, there is a free demo available for Octopath Traveler 2 on the Switch. Mm-hmm. I assume that there might... you know what, I shouldn't say assume. There might also be one available for PlayStation because Octopath Traveler 2 is also available for PlayStation.
And Steam too, I think.
Yeah, and Steam, which I don't think it was at launch last time around.
No, I don't think so.
So that's really exciting, and I really hope that that's gotten the studio a lot more sales because they very much deserve it. So the demo is free, and it lets you play for it's timed. So unlike just having a certain cutoff of content that you can do, you can start with any one of the 8 characters, just like in the original game, and then you can play up to 3 hours. Within those 3 hours, you realistically can make it to another area, possibly even 2, and get up to 3 characters, but time-wise, just from cutscenes and what you have to do to get initial characters to join your party, I think it would be tough to get more than 3 within the demo.
Yeah.
But it gives you a really good chance to get familiar with the battle system, with how the game feels, with how it plays, with the beautiful soundtrack, which we'll talk about more.
Good.
So if you're on the fence about Octopath and you've never played the first one, or you did play the first one and you want to see what's new, play the demo. It will either sway you and you'll buy it, or you'll be like, this is not for me, which is fine.
And I mean, I played the demo of the first game, and that one didn't necessarily sway me. I enjoyed it, but it didn't necessarily sway me to get the full thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt the same way about this one too, to kind of jump into it. But like, I'll flesh out and have more thoughts, obviously. But because it is just kind of the thing. It didn't feel totally different to me from the first one.
Interesting.
And I wonder if that's just due to my limited reach with both, because I didn't obviously extend more than the demos.
Did you? So you finished the demo though?
I didn't use my full 3 hours,
Gotcha.
but I did finish the story of the first character that I picked.
Close enough. That means that you got exposure to all of the basic elements of the game.
Yeah.
So there are some notable differences, but I think we should start with the bare basics, assuming that people have not played Octopath 1.
Right.
Because
and what is even happening?
Yeah. What
in
is
this
Octopath
crazy
Traveler?
ass named game?
What was that, Mogan? Octopus Graveler? Understandable. The team behind Octopath Traveler is notoriously bad at naming games.
Didn't they also do the what was the other one? Diofield? Is that them too?
Yeah, I think they did. But then they also did Project Triangle Strategy.
That's right.
God, what a
Which
fucking
is not
bad name.
Because what was the code name for Octopath Traveler when they first?
It was Octopath Traveler.
Oh, and then they were just like, we're gonna stick with this.
No,
I thought there was like another like shape name.
No, everybody looked at Octopath Traveler and they were like, that's a fucking stupid name. There's no way they're going to stick to it. And then they just didn't change it.
It's like, I feel like they heard the negative criticism.
Oh, and
they were like, they wanted to float this idea of a name out there. And they're like, here we go. We're just going to put this out into the ether. And people reacted negatively to it. And they're like, you know what? No, we're doubling down. And they changed every single character's name to be able to spell out Octopath. And that's why they did that.
They were like, fuck you, we're doing it.
Blows my mind that's why it's called Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, it's incredible. But the studio,
so many layers.
We don't really talk about the studio much except for in passing, because they really revolutionized the graphical style that goes along with Octopath.
Yes.
But it is Studio Acquire, publisher Square Enix. So Octopath Traveler is a pretty traditional, in some ways, turn-based JRPG. So it follows the intersecting stories of 8 playable characters. So the characters in Octopath Traveler 2, and we'll just go through their names real quick because they do spell it out. They spell out the Octopath. All right, so
Which I love it. You got to stick with it now.
I don't know how it will sound when they say it out loud in the game because I didn't start with her and she's also not in my party. But Agnia... In Bravely Default, they pronounce the name Agnes as Agnes. So I'm not sure if this is Anya or Anya. Oh, maybe it's Anya.
It might be Anya to be more with the...
That sounds like something that they would do. Anyway, so we've got Anya, Bristarni, the dancer, Particio Yellowwheel, a merchant, the merchant class, Tressa, it's not anything like Tressa though, Hikari-ku, the warrior class, Oswald V. von Stein, the scholar class, which that blew my mind. I was like, really? Throne Angui, Anguille?
Anguille. I like Anguille.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. The Thief class, Temenos Mistral, the Cleric, Casti Florenz, the Apothecary, and Ochette, the Hunter class. So the first letters of each of their names spell out the word Octopath, which is hysterical. So the premise of Octopath Traveler is that you can start as any one of the 8 playable characters. They all are located at different portions of the world map. I looked up what the world is called in this game, and then the term immediately flew out of my brain. Stall, Jared. Oh, never mind. There it is.
She got it. Recovery.
It takes place in the world of Celestia.
Okay.
So I'm not actually sure if that's the same world as Octopath Traveler 1, but also it doesn't matter because that's irrelevant to the
Right, because they don't cross over at any point.
No, they don't.
As far as you know.
So very important to note, you can play Octopath Traveler 2 without having any exposure to Octopath Traveler 1. They might technically be located in the same world. Like I said, I can't remember. But your 8 characters are located at different sections of the world map in the world of Celestia, which is loosely, I mean, if I had to pin it as far as like fantasy timing goes, pre-industrial. Yeah. Most of the places are either pre-industrial entirely, maybe even a little bit feudal in some places or straight up medieval. Others look like they've made it a little bit farther along and might be getting into machinery and stuff, but it's still pretty early days of industry, we would say. For context, the character that I chose was Casti, the Apothecary. Who did you pick?
I picked... Oh, who do you think I picked? Because you said before we started.
I feel like you picked Oswald.
You're spot on.
I knew it. I was like, Jared's going to pick that guy. Which is actually great because in terms of the location of the map, Casti is at the very bottom and Oswald is at the very top. So I was like, that's a good safe spot.
That is.
Because then none of our demo would overlap and we could have more diversity of talk here. But Casti is the Apothecary. In Octopath Traveler 1, that was Alphen.
Yes,
I feel like familiar. His name. It's something stupid like that. I feel like it was Alphen, but the Apothecary class is broken.
Oh, really? Overpowered broken?
Oh, yeah, it's OP as shit. It was already OP in Octopath Traveler 1. I feel like they made it even more OP in Octopath 2, and we'll talk about that more. What should we call it? 2 Octo 2 Path? We'll call it 2 Octo 2 Path.
I like that.
So in 2 Octo 2 Path, I feel like some of the changes they made to the base gameplay make a lot of the classes potentially very broken, which is exciting for me. But Oswald is the Scholar, which is in sort of JRPG terms, the Mage. The Scholar is the one that's the best.
Which I normally don't play as that class.
You don't. I'm impressed
usually
that you
like
chose
a
that.
warrior, usually just a straight up warrior class.
Yeah, you picked you picked Honnet.
I did.
Yeah, that's right.
Went with that one, which I was like, I almost texted you or messaged you before I started. I was like, okay, which one has the least amount of chance do you think of having that Old English that Honnet had from the first game? Because that was almost made me stop.
Yeah, that was rough
pretty
for some
rough.
people.
Because it felt so random and like, I know what you're going for, but this just feels like...
She was the only one that spoke like
that. That's who I picked.
So
and I was like, I appreciate your gameplay, and I liked like being able to capture the creatures and use them in battle and stuff like that, but I was like, the cutscenes with you are a pain.
But, so tell me about Oswald. What's his backstory, and what's...
It actually was very engaging. I liked his backstory a lot. It's that he is a scholar looking for... slight story spoilers here for the beginning chapters of Oswald's tale. He is a scholar looking for the key to the one true magic, and he's like discovering this, like he's been able to make like a flame and do some other magical things in his research, but he's like top tier scholar. Like he is the one that like he's trying to figure out.
So
all
he's a
this
super
stuff.
mage.
Yes,
gotcha.
But he's been framed for murder.
Spit take. Gasp!
In that his
oh my god!
And in that his wife and child's bodies were discovered in the burned ashes of their home.
Oh my god!
And he was arrested and sentenced to basically life imprisonment at Shawshank. No, just not kidding. It's called Frigide Isle, which is like a very locked down prison thing. But actually, like I just watched Shawshank Redemption, and I was like, the parallels, they're right here.
That's hilarious. His geographic region is in the far north, so it's like the snowy area, right? Oh, that sounds so unpleasant.
It was. This is a very desolate area. The warden literally like beats you when you like come into contact with him. Every scene he like beats somebody up.
Oh god!
And one of there's like obviously doing forced labor mining for this foforial, I believe is what it's called. It's like a flammable substance that they mine and ore on Frigide Island. And so like they're out there, and like the first day you're doing something, and he gets and a prisoner is like, it's so cold it hurts, and then the warden comes over and like smacks him and then like talks shit at him, and then another guard comes over like, sir, he's already dead, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so terrible for like how like lighthearted and cheery the art style is.
For people that aren't familiar with the first Octopath game, that's very par for the course. Octopath has always taken really hard left turns into the very serious.
And there were a couple throughout just these opening chapters, and I was like,
some of the storylines in Octopath 1 were much more lighthearted. Like Tressa's, she just wanted to be the best merchant in the world. Hers was so lighthearted, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But others had like really heavy themes that they dealt with, so Oswald seems like he was
one of the heavier ones for sure, yeah. So it was a very good story in that regard. And so it becomes with his plan then at the start of the game is he has to get out of this prison to be able to avenge, because he knows who did it.
Oh, okay.
Or like who framed him or whatever.
Gotcha.
And so he's got to get out to be able to complete his studies, but then also get revenge for his wife.
A classic revenge tale.
So it was pretty good.
Very Count of the Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
Except there's no wife and child for him to recover.
No, that's true.
R.I.P. in peace.
Or Gladiator. Same thing happened in Gladiator 2 at the beginning. So.
I also want to kind of note that the first Octopath game, I feel like, stayed very in the lane of character archetype stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like the scholar in Octopath 1, Cyrus, he was very like slender, refined. He like taught at the university.
Or was that the other person? Or was that Alphen?
Alphen didn't have a fedora, but he gave off fedora vibes. There was definitely a character that had a fedora.
I think it was Cyrus.
Maybe? No, he didn't. Anyways, the point is that all of the characters in Octopath 1, their personalities their physical appearance really matched what you would expect of their class. Like the cleric was a small girl, very gentle, very kind. The merchant is like a peppy young woman, real go-getter. The thief is like a dark, mysterious guy, and the scholar is like the elegant, refined, kind of dopey when it comes to common sense, but very good at magic type. And they all visually match those expectations as well. I feel like already Octo 2 Path is branching out a little bit more from those very narrow lanes, because like with Oswald, from what I saw of his character art, when I was selecting my character for the demo, he looks physically very big and scary. He has like really huge long hair like a huge mane of hair.
Think like Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, and he's like big and buff and scary looking, and I was like, oh my god, that's the scholar. And it kind of seemed like they were maybe going to go with similar themes for some of the other characters as well. I will say that Casti is fairly in line with what you might expect.
Yeah, what's her story?
Let's talk about Casti. So Casti, Casti, her tale is a mystery tale, a classic amnesia arc.
Oh my god.
Yeah, everybody loves a good amnesia story. So it starts with a very mysterious opening of somebody, a hooded, robed figure, at night in the rain, carrying somebody on their shoulder who is clearly unconscious to the docks. That person puts the other person on a small little skiff and is like, you have to be the one that survives. You're the only one that can save us. This is for the good of all of us, and just pushes the skiff out to sea. So it was clearly a very desperate effort to get a specific person away from something. You're not really sure what. That person is obviously Casti. So her story begins when she is found at sea days later, dehydrated, completely out of it, and with no memory. So a ship saves her from not drowning to death, just dehydrating to death. That would be what killed you first. A passing merchant ship manages to acquire her, they rescue her, and they take her to the other side of the sea. So you can actually see on the map that Casti comes from the eastern shore. Yeah. But her story starts on the western shore. Oh. And she's a nurse, you can tell. Or I'm saying the word nurse because that's very much what her outfit gives the vibes of. Yeah. Like, imagine the garb that you would see like field nurses wear in World War I. Yes. That's exactly what her outfit looks like. It's got like this cute blue cap and this big blue overcoat, and they've got like a patch on the front that signifies what order they're from, which is Heirs, E-I-R-S. So she's from the Order of Heirs, which you don't really know what that means. but people in the town that you are brought to, Canalbrine, or Candlebrine as I call it, they react very poorly to you. And you're like, bitch, I just fucking woke up. I don't know what's going on. The only reason Casti even realizes that she's an apothecary is because the bag that she had with her is full of like herbs, a recipe book, bandages, gauze, that kind of stuff. And she's like, oh, well, based on this bag that has my name on it and my uniform that has my name on it, I'm clearly an apothecary. But her specific apothecary uniform triggers some negative reactions in the townfolk because apparently, rumor has it that the Order of Heirs aren't true apothecaries. They travel around to towns and make people intentionally sick, kind of like angels of death.
Okay.
So people are very suspicious of Casti, and she has no idea who she is, so she doesn't know if that's true or not. She has no idea. And her recipe book, her journal, which is where she keeps track of all of the people she's ever treated, what their ailments were, how she fixed them up, is soaked in blood.
Oh, no.
And she's like,
that's not good.
Oh, that's not good. I can't remember shit. I only know my name. And people are looking at me like I'm a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Obviously, through her actions, she manages to befriend the townsfolk of the initial town that she lands in. But her story is she's got to figure out what the fuck is going on. And she's got this nagging thought in the back of her mind, very amalgamous, no real shape to it, that she's supposed to be doing something really important, but she can't remember what it is. So that's Casti's tale. That's how she starts off.
Very cool.
I'm very glad that her story is more nuanced than Alphen's was, because the apothecary class rules. Alphen was such a dope, which his personality had a certain charm to it, but he was kind of portrayed as like a country bumpkin, and also a through and through copy paste do-gooder. Alphen's entire journey was about just fixing people, healing people, doing the most good for the world, no matter the cost. Casti's like, I mean, yeah, I've got a job and I'm an apothecary, but also I clearly have some other shit to figure out. So she has more motivation than just I want to help people.
Sure.
Which again kind of plays into my, I think, feeling that more of this game is going to have more story beyond what was surface level in Octopath 1. So I'm very excited about that.
Very nice. So those were the setup for our characters and stuff like that, and what the paths that we chose. What really did kind of stand out? Because, like, I know a lot of this, like, there was some big combat, or not actually a ton of combat, really, I would say, in
Yours sounds very story heavy.
It was, and honestly, I was almost like, this might not have been the best person to pick for this.
You picked bad again.
not the same way, and honestly, like, I wasn't that bothered by Honnet's stuff. It just was a little bit like, oh man, that's a choice. But his was good. It takes place like 5 years after he's sentenced, so he's 5 years in, and he's like, I'm ready to do to break out, which I thought was a very funny like story note, in that he's like. He's like all thinking, because he also is wearing a muzzle this whole time because he can't speak his spells.
Very Man in the Iron Mask.
Yeah, see,
wow,
combining all these stories together.
Classic literature.
And so, a lot of this is like his internal monologue, and he's like, I've been here for 5 years, studying, learning everything I can to be able to make this grand masterscape, and the time has come. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, let's make this happen. And he says, I just need 3 things to make it happen.
So you got to do a little fetch quest to go around and find shit. Oh, what are the things he needs? A Pop-Tart, a water bottle.
He's like, I've made all these careful plans, and the time is now. I just need these 3 things. Number 1, an escape route.
Incredible. Impeccable planning.
Number 2, clothes to survive the warm winter outside.
Okay.
And 3, an accomplice who knows the inner workings of the prison.
Oh my
and I was like, that's everything still you need to know.
That's incredible. That is very funny.
It made me laugh. Oh my God, and it got me again. It made me laugh so hard when that happened. I was like, dude, you have shit.
So he is like Cyrus. He's actually an idiot scholar.
I will say, So there was a lot of like going back and forth, like getting those three things and then actually setting the plan in motion, and obviously eventually escaping. But you do eventually find your accomplice, and your accomplice becomes your party member for it. And then you are able to go into this underground cavern, and then you eventually fight the warden as like the big boss fight of this area. I assume, I don't know, you're more familiar with this game. What parts should we like really focus on?
Yeah,
should we move into the combat? Because I know that could be like kind of the bigger part.
Let's definitely talk about the combat because, like I said, it's a turn-based RPG. And every time a turn-based RPG comes out, people always, at least some people, a faction of people on the internet are like, turn-based combat is dead. Nobody likes those games anymore.
Yeah.
False. They absolutely do. Persona 5 sold 5 billion copies. People fucking love turn-based games when they are done in a very good and interesting way.
Yeah.
And Octopath Traveler 2, Octopath, does build on its original system, which is a system of shield breaking and boosting, I guess.
Yeah, battle point boosting.
Yeah, they call it battle point. I think it's called boosting. Yeah,
yeah, it's boost on there, but they call the red dots you get battle points to spend. Yeah.
So it's a system of shield breaking and boosting your character's attacks. So how a typical round of combat might go is, let's say that I'm Casty and my primary weapon is the axe.
Yeah.
Characters cannot wield all of the possible weapons in the game, nor can they individually cast all the spells without items to do so. So, for example, Casty's loadout is she has the axe equipped, and she has a magic spell that casts ice. Those are the two things in her arsenal that can be used to break an enemy's defenses.
Oswald has his like staff.
Oh, the staff.
And then he has a fireball spell and an ice blast.
He only has fire and ice?
Yeah.
He doesn't start with thunder?
You can buy thunder later, I think, after you complete like chapter 2. Unless I did it wrong.
No,
I might have missed it. But
that's
maybe
just really interesting because that's not how Cyrus starts.
Oh, really?
Off. Yeah.
Well, maybe because he's in the prison and he like has that muzzle. You don't even get to like use your spells and stuff until like later. When you're making your escape and stuff like that. So it's kind of, but yeah, so those are the two he had. But no, I did after completing his chapter, you like run it, you were in a village, his 2 chapters, you're in a village when you can start doing the free roam stuff. And you can like find a merchant who was allowed me to buy a like electrical or thunder spell.
Fascinating. Very interesting. Okay, so Casty, for example, has ice and the hatchet, the axe. So an enemy has usually anywhere between 2 to as many as like 5 or even 6 little squares underneath their name.
Yep.
And those little empty boxes indicate that a weakness goes there. So if there's an enemy with 2 boxes underneath it, that means it has 2 weaknesses. There are about 5 to 7 different weapon types in the game, each of which can be a weakness, and there are maybe 5 spells: fire, ice, thunder, dark, and light. Yeah. So there are about 5 magic spells that somebody can be. Oh no, and air. 6. So there are a certain amount of magic types that an enemy can be weak to. So if I attack, and it can have, again, anywhere between 1 and like fucking 10 shield points. Probably even more for some of the super bosses. But shield points, if you can break them down enough by hitting an enemy's weaknesses, you break their guard, they lose a turn of attack because things are based on turn order. So if you break somebody's guard, they lose that turn of attack and you get to hit them extra hard next time around because they're dazed and they have nothing to defend against.
Right.
So the idea is you hit an enemy's shield as many times as is ideal to set yourself up for the next round of attack to be a super move. So with Casty, I might want to save up like 4 battle points, break somebody's guard like on the 3rd turn, and then use all 4 of my battle points through the boost system to give my poison attack a really, really strong attack.
Now, later in a fight, like if you fought a boss, did it give you an extra like power-up thing? The latency, is it latency?
Yes. So this is new. So this is one of the things
I didn't remember that from the first one. Yeah.
So 2 Octopath essentially added what I would call a burst system. So they call it latent power.
Not latency.
Yeah. No, you had it because it's like, I mean, it's
same thing, I
you
guess.
totally got it. So each character also has a unique latent power. I've got a couple of different characters now, but let's just focus on Casty. So each character has a gauge up in the top where their health and SP goes, which is
Spell power, probably?
Spell power. Wow.
I'm on top of it
Yeah,
today.
you're really on it. Spell power. Mana, basically. So
Yeah.
each character has HP and a certain amount of mana, and then they also have this little circular gauge that slowly fills up as you either break an enemy's guard or get hit. So getting hit actually kind of gives you a little bit of a benefit in this game, which in the past it never did, which opens up the door to some really unique plays, especially for specific characters. Because let's say you've got a warrior. They have really high defense already. Shit evasion, but you just load them up with the best defensive armor and shields that you can find, and then just make it to where you want them to get hit for a specific reason. That could really pay off. So latent power, once your gauge is full, I was going to say fully full, which is the stupidest thing ever. Once your burst gauge is full, latent power gauge is full, you have the option to activate your character's latent power. For Casty, and this is the part that is broken as fuck on her. So the apothecary uses herbs and items to heal other members of the party. You also get a pretty low power standard heal that uses magic power instead of your herbs.
Yeah.
But herbs is really where it's at. You want to use those because you can combine them in unique ways to either heal the party, cure status ailments, give people more BP, regenerate SP, sometimes all at once.
Yeah.
So if you can get the right items for the apothecary, you can be really overpowered already. Latent power makes that even more broken because when you activate latent power, it gives you the chance to use your herbs in any combination, either for attack or for supporting your party, without actually using the item.
Oh, wow.
So let's say that I only have one more grape. I think they call them healing grape. I only have one more bunch of healing grapes in my inventory, but I've got latent power. I can activate my latent power and then use that grape, but it doesn't actually consume it.
Oh, that's cool.
You can also combine her apothecary skills with the boost system.
Nice.
But every boost is an additional ingredient.
Oh, shit.
So you can combine
holy
healing, you can combine
recharge? Affliction?
I don't know how. Yeah, like ailment fixing.
Okay.
I don't know the good word for it. You can apply
Apothecarying.
Yeah, and up to 4 based on the amount of boost that you can get.
Oh, wow, that's
so
cool.
she can just make your party unbelievably strong.
Jesus, that is
the
incredible.
same thing applies to enemies. So if you've got diffusing powder so that you can apply it to the entire enemy team or your entire team also, you can just be insanely powerful as Casty.
Yeah, Oswald's, it would intensify his spells.
Nice.
So like I would come on that first boss and everything like that. When it first introduced the latent power, yeah, I was like boost. I had like a full battle points gauge full. That was full, and so yeah, I just did that and just unleashed this massive fireball. It was really cool.
Which something that they did that I feel like is a new just perk of this game. Whenever you're using the maximum amount of boost for any attack, any heal, any actions, what I'm trying to say, any action where you're using all 4 of your boosts, the camera work, because it's technically.
Yeah.
It's technically a 2D pixel game, but it's not. It acquires unique take on what they call HD 2D or 2D 3D because pixel sprites are the primary look of the game, but they are so enhanced, and the space is actually 3D space. So you're these pixelated characters in a 2D world, but a 3D space. So the camera still has a lot of opportunity to be really interesting in battle. So when you're about to use up a full boost's worth of attack, the camera like pivots around your
really
character.
Cool. It's a really cool
and then
effect.
they get this sort of whirlwind effect around them that intensifies, and then it's like all the air gets sucked out of the room, and then the attack blasts out.
Cool.
It makes it feel so powerful, and the character usually has a unique voice line that goes along with that. Cassie's is fucking hilarious because she's the apothecary, but her max attack line is no mercy, only pain. It's like, oh shit.
She's going hardcore.
She's fucking hardcore. It's incredible. What is Oswald's? Do you remember?
Oh no,
It's probably
I
something
don't.
badass.
I don't remember what it is. I do remember his when he takes damage. He's like, that was not in my calculations. Oh, it's
hilarious.
very funny.
Another thing that I really like that they did in the game is each character, again, if you haven't played the original Octopath, the vast majority of dialogue and voice lines are fully voice acted. And the voice acting in the Octopath games is incredible. It sounds so good. The characters really the voice actors really bring their characters to life.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think is new to this game is the characters have a lot more banter between themselves during battle. You wouldn't have gotten this because I think you only had Oswald, but I've gotten up to 3 characters now.
I had 2 people.
Oh,
I had
you did have
my
an
accomplice.
NPC. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this applies to accomplices, but for example, with everybody that's a main character in your party, let's say that I'm Casty or I'm controlling Casty, and I break somebody's guard, and then I switch over to Hikari. Because Casty broke somebody's guard, he will start his turn by saying, "Excellent work, Casty." It's like, oh, I love that. That's
cool.
such a nice little touch. So every time you do something or something affects one of your party members, the other party members will react to that. Like if somebody's fucking dying, Casty might be like, "Oh, Hikari." And it's like, "Yeah, bitch, he's dying. Better heal him. Use that latent power. Get those herbs out." I just think it's a really nice touch that really makes the party feel a lot more alive.
Yeah,
and
not so static.
Because I acquired Casty and Hikari first, Hikari's the warrior. He's very clearly meant to be from either ancient Chinese or ancient Japanese cultural background. It's not exact, they don't call it that, but he's from the kingdom of Ku. But it's in the desert. So, like, imagine the aesthetic of feudal Japan or Meiji era Japan and just plop it right into the desert. And you're like, huh, okay, yeah.
Sure, makes sense.
But their 2 personalities just get along so well, I feel like. So I'm already so help me decide. Do you think their couple ship name would be Castakari or Hikasti? Tough,
I like
right?
Hikasti.
Ooh, you like Hikasti?
Yeah.
I kind of like the Castakari. Because it reminds me of Katamari Damacy.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is neither here nor there. The point is the point system, the boost system, the way that you're able to use the latent powers to make your characters really pop off is incredible.
Yeah.
Combine that with the way that turn order works and setting yourself up for mega attacks later down the line, it becomes a very strategic turn-based game. You have to be really careful.
Yeah, I actually thought I was going to get stuck on the first boss as Oswald because, I don't play very many turn-based strategy, or not turn-based strategy, turn-based like combat RPGs like this. And so, I had to learn those combats, and I had to figure out how do I influence the turn order to get an advantage, understanding the braking and all that different stuff. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
JRPGs, turn order, combat, Hikari, ship names.
No.
Is this helping?
It was something along the lines of shit. Where was I going with that? So I had to learn all of that different stuff. But I almost got stuck on the boss because it took me I think 3 or 4 times to fight him, because I had to learn and and figure out all those different to maximize it to its fullest effect, and how to make the synergies of the 2 characters work together, how to work with the specials and the especially the latent power and stuff like that. Yeah. I did get a little frustrated with it a little bit because it is different not having health bars for the enemy.
Oh, right.
Because you have it for you, but not for the enemy.
Yeah, that's true.
So especially when you're trying to figure out that flow and how to maximize
more you
it.
Have to do.
The very first time, we'd been fighting for a long time. Then all of a sudden he pulls some bullshit move and kills both of us.
Ooh.
When we had well over 100 health each.
Yeah, okay.
And so but that was after I'd been grinding on him for a while, and I was like, "What is this?" It just kind of felt like I was just throwing random bullshit at him because I didn't have any gauge to see how much impact I was having, other than seeing the damage number.
So I'm not sure if you noticed, and this is not a full. It doesn't exactly equate to a health bar, but enemies do actually have their name below or above. Oh, so they have their name and their little box of weaknesses, right?
Yes.
Below that, the color of it's just their name. Below that, the color of an enemy's name will change based on how much health they have.
I did not pick up on that at all.
So they start out white, but then
I
they
rescind my criticism.
But it's not exact, but they go to yellow when they're at half health, about, and then they go to red when they're below 25%.
Oh, yeah, I did not pick up on that at all.
So you need to be paying attention to other players. You need to pay attention to stuff like that, because that can inform when when you're going to set up your super moves.
I basically like learned because the warden, I was like trying to like spread the damage out, but then I realized that once he started pulling that bullshit move on me, that I was like, okay, no, I really have to get him out. Plus, I did eliminate his 2 accomplices that were with him, and then like the next turn he just like spawned 2 new ones. I was like, okay, so obviously the goal here is to just just really gang up on the warden and really like try to kick his ass. And once I did that, it worked out. And then because like on the 4th try, it really was like clicking with all the different stuff and figuring it out. So it did come together for me, and I got more into it, I would say. But I don't know. Well, before we like kind of like give our summation feelings to it, was there anything else about the combat stuff like that?
No, other than that, even as a veteran player, I played the first game. I did not 100% complete it or even really get close.
How long would that take?
It's a very long game.
That honestly, no, go ahead.
Actually, that does lead me into the one more really important point.
Sure.
So each of the 8 characters' paths, other than your first character, are really entirely optional. So each character has, I think, about 4 what could be considered tiers of their path. They have their intro story, and then a middle story, second middle story, and then a final arc to their story.
Yeah.
So those require you to go to different sections of the map to continue their story, which is how you collect all the characters. Each of the 8 characters has that.
Yeah.
So to basically finish the entire game and get the secret ending, which everybody knows the games definitely have. It's a JRPG.
Right.
To get the secret ending, you have to finish each character's all 4 tiers. So it can it will be a 100+ hour game if you want to actually finish it in full and unlock the secret ending. And definitely there's a secret boss sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
There's probably also a super boss on the side, maybe more than one. The point being that the Octopath games are very long, very fun, but all of that content is not necessary.
Yeah.
You can just play 1 or 2 characters' full arcs and still feel like you got a really good experience out of it. I think in my 3 arcs that I finished of Octopath 1, I still put in well over 80 hours.
Yeah.
So it is definitely worth the money.
I think, and that's the point. Like, I think, like, I know we started this out, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'll be getting the full game. I had fun with it, and I did. Although I will fully admit, like, the second time he smacked me down, I was like, this is stupid. I'm out. But then I was like, no, I'll come back to it, and I did enjoy the rest of the time that I spent in the demo. I do. For one, it is kind of like the length of how much time there is, how beefy of a game it is. That kind of deters me a little bit from it. And then 2, while I do enjoy the combat and figuring that out, that I feel like while I enjoy like turn-based strategy games and like even like the RPG elements of like Dragon Age and KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, those games also have kind of a turn-based combat to them as well, but it's more like a real time. It's like a mix.
Yeah, real time strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like
a real time combat.
A real time. It's like a mix of the two. You You can choose your move set and like what attacks you want to use. It will cycle through those. Then you have the option to choose those again. But the whole time the 2 characters are fighting and dealing damage to each other.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy that combat style for that a little bit more than this one. I do appreciate the strategy of it though, and like once I did start clicking with like how to interrupt and change in the turn order to my benefit and the breaking of the shields and all that and how to really play all those things together, I did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be something that maybe whenever Nintendo decides to put a game on sale, like I could maybe pick it up like really cheap to be like, I want to just have this to be able to experiment and see if this is even something I would really think for. Also, while I do agree that it is a very beautiful art style, that art style and the aesthetic it kind of gives like isn't really my jam.
Pixel art isn't for everybody.
So,
and there's many different types of pixel art.
Like,
so
for me, while I do appreciate that these games do sometimes take, and Octopath does take a heavier leaning in its story, it like almost comes at a contrast to the art style for me.
Yeah, I get it.
And so that just like is a thing. And that's just my personal opinion, not a knock, because I do understand that, yes, it's very beautiful to look at. It's and like for the fans who enjoy that, go nuts. It's just not my personal aesthetic.
Totally get it. The last thing that I will say about the game, and this is really more hearsay than anything else, because obviously I don't know this. I haven't finished the game. But one of the primary complaints about Octopath 1 was that a lot of the storytelling wasn't necessarily as deep as it could have been.
Yeah.
And some of the stories felt really unbalanced as far as how intricate their stories were. Supposedly, that has been fixed in Octopath. Jason Schreier.
Yeah.
Jason Schreier put out a tweet saying that Octopath Traveler 2 is the best JRPG ever made. So supposedly they have made big improvements to the narrative elements of Octopath, which is the part that I am really looking forward to. Obviously, the combat of the turn-based mechanics, it's just better than ever.
Yeah.
You know, it was good in Octopath 1. It's even better in this game. So if you've never played Octo or you played the first one and found it lacking but still liked it, give Octopath 2 a try. I feel like people are going to get a lot out of this game, and I'm hoping to beat my record of last time. I want to beat 4 characters' arcs.
Dream big.
Yeah, dream big, me. So we'll see how far I get.
Well, and even like I said, to add to that, like even knowing that I'm not going to probably pick up the full game, like I said, I enjoyed the demo. Yeah. It was fun. So I think even if you're on the fence about it, give it a shot. Try the demo. That's what it's there for.
The soundtrack,
to see.
I'm going to say it right now. I feel like the soundtrack in Octopath is already better.
I like that they kept the main theme.
Yeah, they did keep the main theme, but it's kind of like a light rearrangement of it. But I've been to 3 distinct areas now on the map. Each of their themes were straight bangers.
Nice.
So I feel like it's just going to be a sonorously incredible game. And I can't wait to hear all the different themes in the game.
Yeah, I will give the soundtrack a listen because I did enjoy like the battle music.
Oh yeah, the final boss music is always good.
I enjoyed that stuff a lot. So I'll definitely be giving that soundtrack a listen for sure. But hey, we would love to hear if you have played Octopath Traveler 2, Octopath. Okay, there it is. 2 Octopath. And if you've played the demo, picked up the full game, we would love to hear your first impressions of it as well. So send us a message at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Comment wherever you're listening to or watching the show. Join our Discord and talk about it with us there. We would love to hear from you. But with that, everybody, that wraps up this episode of Team Chat Podcast. It's time to batten down the hatches and weather this storm that's coming.
I gotta get home.
Hopefully it's light and stays light. Fingers crossed for all that and knocking on all the wood. But Godspeed, everyone, to weather the storm of the next week until a new episode comes out. But until then, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Logan.
Adios.
We'll see you all next time.